자, 그럼 저희는 소중한 기조 강연 만나봤으니까요. 조금 더 심도 있는 이야기로 넘어가 보도록 하겠습니다. 이어서 기조 대담이 있겠습니다. 기조 대담을 위해서 함께해 주실 좌장님 그리고 패널분 제가 소개해드리면 단상으로 자리해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 자, 이번 기조대담의 좌장은 김원수 여시제 국제자문위원장께서 함께해 주시겠고요. 또 경희대학교 김철원 교수님께서 함께해 주시겠습니다. 단상으로 모시겠습니다. 여러분 따뜻한 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you so much for your excellent moderation and also, I think, almost a flattering introduction for us. Thank you so much. And I'd first like to start by thanking Jeffrey Sachs again, who has joined us despite late hours in New York. And thank you so much for Jeff for your excellent covering the whole world, but also the future until 2050, in 30 years' time. And please give big applause to Jeff for his excellent presentation. Again, thank you so much. And also, I'd like to introduce our panelist, Professor Charon Kim from the Gyeonggi University, who is very well-known expert on the MICE and international tourism. Also, please welcome Professor Kim Charon. Because I think we are conducting the meeting in strict observance of social distancing, and I think Professor Kim also can take off mask.
So I was going to take off mask, but yes, I got the taping here.
I think you can adjust it while I make some comments, because as Jeff just said, I think we can take three big points as three takeaways. The first takeaway from his presentation is that we are facing unprecedented global unsustainability crisis, including in particular climate change. As Jeff said, we are renewing the record warmest and wettest every year, every month. So that means climate change on a global scale is already happening. It may be already too late for us to reverse it, but always it is better start doing something, never too late. The second takeaway, as he said, we have 5 big tasks ahead. As he said, 5 components for global destination until 2050. Green, digital, smart urban, regional cooperation, and multilateralism in a multipolar world. And third takeaway is Asia's role. As Jeff said, the world has experienced the twin challenges of population explosion and rapid urbanization for the last 30 years. And it has been led mostly by China and other Asian countries. For the next 30 years, the urbanization will continue, but this time, India will join the race and also Africa. So it means that unless we do it right, how to bring more people to the cities, global unsustainability challenges will become even more serious. So we have a task ahead, twin tasks. The first task is we have to rectify the excesses of the existing overpopulated megacities. The second task, the future task, is how we have to make future cities smarter, digitally driven, more human-centric, more nature-friendly. So with these 3 takeaways, now I'd like to invite Professor Charon Kim to make his comments and ask questions to Jeffrey Sachs. Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Moderator, Ambassador Kim. Also, thank you very much, Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Chorong Kim from Gyeonggi University, which is located in Seoul. At this moment, really, I feel I have some kinds of uneasy. I'm at some first tee at the golf course. To hit the drive is going to be worrying about is going to be a slice, maybe out of bound. But anyway, thank you so much for your insightful keynote speech on sustainability and city. Particularly, I'm so impressed by your suggestion regarding 5 destination factors. It's green sustainability, digital technology, and urbanization, and regional cooperation, and the multipolar role of the world. I think that's going to be very strong message to our field to overcome severe hardship from pandemic issue. At this point, I am now at the Goyang City. It is a second-tier city which is located very near Seoul. Goyang City hosts the international destination competitiveness 2021 to exchange its experience, expertise on urban, MICE, and tourism. Actually, that embrace innovation, digital technology, digital transformation, as well as sustainability. Jeffrey Sachs, you may know that what does it mean by the MICE? MICE stands for Meeting, Incentive, Travel, Convention, Exhibition. In the United States, this sector is called the meeting industry or exhibition industry. MICE industry has been recognized as a high-valued business worldwide. Actually, it's many countries committed to strengthening, enhancing infrastructure to accommodate internationally renowned events at the national level or local level. So my sector is becoming as a recreative sector in the tourism, hospitality, and the trade sectors. Really, it's the MICE and a tourism destination is a sector in the urban area, create a spatial, dynamics for transforming, urban landscape through, rejuvenation of a public space and a public infrastructure, and development of local amenities and recreational facilities. So, MICE industry also MICE and tourism industry can also, create skill-based labors, stimulate the local business entrepreneurships, and develop a public-private partnership, and attract other industry and service. It's a very important segment these days, but we have been suffering from a pandemic issue, so we are going to overcome this issue. So I just mentioned there is a positive side of the MICE and tourism sector, but as I want to say today, MICE and a tourism destination should be competitive and livable and resilient and inclusive. It's a competitive destination, livable destination, and inclusive destination, as well as resilient destination. It's very, very important. From now, it's going to be a strategic, direction for our survival. Actually, this is aligned with the new urban agenda, UN Habitat 3, and Sustainable Development Goals. So Jeffrey Sachs knows made it all, everything is there. As you know, that new urban agenda, UN Habitat 3, represent, shared vision for a better, more sustainable future. So if well planned, well managed, urbanization can be a powerful tool for sustainable development to any cities around the world. Actually, you know, so when I look at the website, you know, new urban agenda, you know, homepage, so there is described something like that. It's a city occupy approximately 2% of the total land around the world. However, a city produce, you know, more than 70% of economic achievement in terms of GDP, and they produce, is a city produce, you know, more than 70% of global energy consumption, and it's a 70% over, 60% over greenhouse gas emissions, as well as it's 70% of water waste. This city got many problems in terms of sustainability. Actually, new urban agenda set the two main issues: city for all, or right to city. So it links absolutely to the sustainable development goal 11, make cities, human settlement, you know, inclusive and safe and so resilient and sustainable. As Jeffrey Sachs knows very well. So, in order to really reboot the city in terms of fostering MICE and tourism industry, our industry should be competitive, livable, and inclusive and resilient. So, I wanna, if you don't mind, Jeffrey Sachs, I wanna raise several questions actually related to the contents of your keynote speech. What can you think about policy initiatives to optimize needs and expectation of new customers in the corona pandemic or post-pandemic? Or what can we think about the policy initiatives to facilitate inclusive economic, social growth, and structural transformation and innovation by empowering local residents, citizens? The second question maybe is that how can a second-tier city, like Goyang City, be positioned to be competitive, inclusive, livable, and resilient destination in terms of tourism and MICE? This is the third question. I have too many questions there. Third question is that when I look at your excellent, you know, content of your keynote speech around the world, I look at that YouTube. Frequently you mention that skill-based economy, digital economy, as well as green economy. Those economic paradigm, economic, you know, framework may be applied to the MICE and tourism sectors. How can those economies can be applied to Goyang City as a MICE or tourism destination? That's my questions. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Kim, for your excellent question. 3 questions. But if I give you, Jeff, a little background about Goyang City, I mean, I think the best analogous example of New York City is Goyang is like Scottsdale plus Jersey City. Administratively different, but very integral part of Seoul metropolitan area.
Yep.
And also Goyang City is aimed at creating high-end, high added value industry like meeting and convention industry, and also providing high quality residents and who will commute to Seoul for their work. So that's the background of Goyang City, and Professor Kim wants you to give 2 policy advices on the Goyang City, how to make it more competitive, but resilient, and nature-friendly and human-centric, digitally driven. And the second part of his seeking advice is how we should position, particularly Korean people, in anticipation of post-corona. But now it seems that getting out of the woods for the post-corona period may take time, longer time than we expected. So then how we have to manage our life, our social work and economic work, and meeting and other industries work in a more balanced way to take safety considerations with also social and economic needs. So how we should prepare, not only for post-corona, but also with the corona lives ahead of us. Thank you. So Jeff, floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Professor Kim, also both Professors Kim for wonderful questions and a chance to reflect on these good issues. First, in the most basic way, Korea is doing the most important things, which is excellence of education and excellence of innovation. And I really want to stress that, because if you look at the global comparisons on educational performance, the OECD PISA scores, Korea's right there, basically at the top of the world. Interestingly, it's all East Asia at the top of the world. It's Korea, it's the major cities of China, it's Japan, Taiwan, it's Singapore. This is wonderful, and it reflects, I think, excellence of values and tremendous dedication to excellence of education. To my mind, it's the key. It is really the key in a knowledge world economy. Please keep that up. You know, what's happening in the United States, by the way, I just was looking at the data. We have a big fight about vaccines because we have the vaccines. Unlike Korea, we produce them, but people don't want them. And if you look at who doesn't want them, it's the places with poor education, because we have so many places in the United States where people are just poorly educated. And then they are confused, they listen to fake news, they listen to superstition, and of course this is a great weakness. So Korea is doing something really wonderful and it's a very cultural commitment, and it's very important. And if every child gets a chance for education, that also will lead to inclusion in society. That's one part. Second is innovation. If you rank countries by the expenditures on research and development as a share of national income, I think Korea is #1 in the whole world, more than 5% of the gross domestic product. This is absolutely the right strategy, a large government commitment and a large private commitment, because Samsung just announced major investments in new technologies. Hyundai, so many of Korea's leading companies are making huge investments in research and development, and that is what will give Korea the competitive edge and put Korea in a leadership position for the future. So these are the most important basic points. But then to turn to the destination, Goyang City, and some comments about that. I think that Seoul, and with Goyang City as part of that, should become a global hub for visits, for tourism, for meetings, and so on. As Wan-Soo knows, I was a big proponent of having the Green Climate Fund in Korea, in Chon. And I think that this is a fantastic example of how Korea could take leadership which will bring people to Korea, bring industry and political leaders to Korea, have meetings that will be world meetings on green climate. So first I would say, now that the fund is in Korea, take good care of it, promote it, use it also to make Korea a destination. And Seoul should be a destination for people to come to learn about the future and also to enjoy, of course, the culture, the tourism, and the future. What will bring people to cities in the future is mainly the quality of life also. And so creating in Goyang and Seoul the high quality life with green spaces, with cultural areas and cultural activities. Also, I believe attracting foreign students, because Korea should have lots of foreign students coming to study in Korea and learn about Korea, learn about the region, have the chance to use a campus as a base for exploring Asia more generally. But one of America's great strengths, to put it, because we have so many weaknesses, but one of the great strengths was attracting students from around the world in higher education. And that created a generation of people who know each other from around the world. I was on a call this morning with a finance minister in Africa who studied at Columbia University. So we were immediately bonded, of course. And I would encourage Seoul to be an attraction for foreign students to come for a year or for a degree to learn, to see and to enjoy. When it comes to MICE, please be creative on the future of conferences and meetings and so on, because I think we are moving to this kind of blended conference scenario where it is more partly digital, partly in person, in mixed style. That will be true even after COVID. And so I'm sure that Korean companies will come up with ingenious ways to have very interesting hybrid conferences. Some people will come, some people will be internationally online, but it will be done in a very high quality and inclusive way, maybe with enhanced reality technologies. We'll visit as holograms rather than on a screen. I can imagine all sorts of Korean solutions that will be interesting, but I think that we will be in a mixed mode, somewhat more digital, people not necessarily coming physically for meetings as often as they did, but more meetings, more chance to be together, more routine that we are cooperating with each other because it will be so easy to do. And I think for all cities, we really need to think about what the digital world will look like. Because if people are in Goyang, they won't commute every day to Seoul in the future. They'll work from home, or they'll work from their coffee shop, or they'll work from a special pod that is set up for them, but without the commute necessarily each day. Maybe they'll go to Seoul 2 days a week and be home 3 days a week. I think we can end traffic jams. I think we can cut down on commuting. I think we can consciously design new ways to live that will enhance the quality of our lives. And the digital world, to my mind, enables that. I like teaching online, by the way. I like to see students, but I also like to be online because then I can teach my class from anywhere in the world. I don't have to worry about whether I'm traveling or not. And my students have adjusted to that already for a decade, that they know that Professor Sachs may be coming to class from halfway around the world. But I think if we use these technologies in a creative way, our lives can change for the better from this. The only point, I hesitate to say it, but Korea's done so much so right. But I think, and I hope I can say this the right way, Koreans need to work a little bit fewer hours in the year because it's too much work, more leisure time, because Korea has one of the most hours per worker in the whole world. And I know that's part of Korea's success is all that hard work. But I think quality of life really should play a lead role in how we think about the design in the future. So I just wanted to add that little bit as well. A little bit more vacation time, a little bit shorter hours, probably less commuting than we've had to before, more teams that are working digitally and online together. But Korea has everything that it takes for success, culturally, intellectually, organizationally, institutionally. And I want to emphasize one more time from an economic point of view, this will be the lead industry of the future, is how to be green and digital in the future. So working out these solutions in Korea is not only improving the quality of life in Korea, but it's putting Korea in the forefront of the cutting edge solutions for the whole world, which are needed everywhere.
Thank you, Jeff. Although I think we have a little technical problem, we cannot see your face on the screen, but I cannot agree more with you that the pandemic forced us, particularly Koreans, to change our lifestyle, our work culture, work-life balance, I think in a better way. As you said, Koreans have worked longest hours among OECD countries, and we started longest. But still, we don't feel very happy because one of the work Jeff has been doing is to study and publish the World Happiness Report every year. But the rank of Korea is not going up, it's going down. And I hope with the changes we are now bringing through online in the pandemic era, I think will improve our happiness index as well. And on your point on the Korean innovation, today is a very good example of Goyang City practicing hybrid meetings in a very creative way. I want to show the room to you because in a huge room we have, I think about 70, 100 people, but sitting with more than, I think, 3 meters apart from each other. So totally safe. But I'm very impressed by the intensity of their interest in your presentations, and also for the conference Goyang City is holding today and tomorrow. And also we have, I heard about maybe 1,000 online attendances as well. So Goyang City is already practicing very innovative hybrid examples of future meetings. That said, I want to be fair to our offline attendants, so that they can have a chance to ask a question to Jeffrey Sachs. So I want to open up the floor for the audience in person. Okay, so Professor Kim Chol-won, maybe he wants to add a couple of points.
It comes to me as 2 questions actually. You know, recently I read an article, newspaper article regarding paradox of, net zero carbonization. Net zero carbonization may induce, lead, consumer price up, and then supply price up. So how can destination can be competitive as price got this inflation due to net zero carbon policy? So the second question is that you mentioned that digital technology, right? So we experience a digital divide, actually divide, you know. There's infrastructure skills is really different. So how can destination, the people who live in destination, inclusive? And the third question is that regional cooperation, relationship among China, Korea, Japan is so uncomfortable. So how can overcome these situations in order to have regional cooperations?
Again, three big questions. While Jeff is preparing his answers, and also want to encourage any of you who are joining us today offline, feel free to ask a question. And don't miss the opportunity to ask a question directly to Jeff. Jeff, floor is yours.
Wansu, could you repeat? I missed the first two questions. It was just hard for me to hear. So I got regional cooperation.
Oh, his first two questions related to how to make our vision for carbon neutral by 2050 with making mice industry more aligned with that goal, still making more competitive.
Yeah, great. And what was the second question?
I think it is related. And also he wants to hear your view about the imperative of technologies. So how to make these two goals more aligned through technologies.
Yeah. So I think first, to achieve what we need to achieve for climate safety, countries need a clear roadmap because this is really about technology transformation. We know, for example, that we need to move to electric vehicles, and that's why many Korean companies are now investing in batteries, battery supply chains, the software for electric vehicles, the conversion, of course, of all of the automobile production to electric vehicles. But I think each industry needs to analyze its carbon footprint and where it has the most challenges. For international meetings, probably the biggest challenge is the transport to get to the meetings, which is not so easily solved. But because we don't have yet a good solution for long-distance zero-carbon aviation. And as I mentioned, even on the ocean shipping, where Korea plays a major role as a shipbuilder and designer, we're just getting those innovations underway now. But I think Korea will play a very, very big role in that. Incidentally, for the last couple of weeks, I've been in many discussions with major European shipping companies that want to decarbonize but don't know which technologies. So this is really a good area for Korea to work on solutions, because if you get to the good solutions, it has a whole world market available for it. So for the mice sector, it requires a specific analysis of how to align the mice sector with the Sustainable Development Goals and with the Paris Agreement. Each industry really needs to do this. And with mice, I think that there are, of course, many ways that the conference sites themselves should be green, renewable, energy-based, using principles of design of the buildings for great energy efficiency, natural landscaping, many solutions. But I think setting standards is important for the industry, because industry participants don't necessarily know or understand the whole supply chain that they face without such an analysis. And I haven't seen it for the MICE sector, but I think that it is a way to proceed is to do a proper study of all of the different ways that the sector right now may contribute to the greenhouse gases or to other environmental challenges and all of the kinds of solutions that can be brought about, because this will give a roadmap of the way forward. On the question of regional cooperation, how to do it, there's one absolutely overriding answer, and I'm sorry to be so simplistic about it, but it is to talk with each other in every possible way. Lots of meetings, lots of connections, students, Korean students studying in China or Japan, Japanese and Chinese students studying in Korea, getting to know each other on the human level and also working together on common projects. I know that there are real issues, historical issues and future issues. There are real security issues ahead, but I see no way to proceed other than the human connection and the human understanding, because I think that that will provide the kinds of solutions that are needed. This is a complicated subject, but I don't feel the United States is speaking properly with China right now. It's just treating China as almost an enemy rather than as a counterpart for serious discussions. So the first thing I would do is institutionalize lots of exchanges. The heads of state of the three countries are supposed to meet with each other, China, Korea, and Japan. That happens. I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see them on Zoom together, just like we're on Zoom together, because now we could have more connectivity. I would like to see the universities working more closely together on all of these challenges. That's why Ban Ki-moon asked me 9 years ago to help set up a global network of universities that would work on sustainable development together. We have so many universities in Korea as part of the network, but I'd like to see a Northeast Asian network where Chinese, Japanese, and Korean universities are working closely together on the common set of problems. For example, on designing the zero carbon energy system for Northeast Asia, because that ought to be a connected grid, actually. There ought to be interconnections across the countries, but that needs a lot of engineering design, a lot of political design, a lot of design of the markets and so forth, so that there's security, but also market structures that could work effectively. And I think putting the three countries' lead universities together, working on these challenges would be a natural way to enhance cooperation across the countries.
Thank you, Jeff, for your advice on Korea, but also Japan and China, and the need for the three countries in our region to work together. And I'm absolutely surprised to see there is zero question I got from the floor or even online. It means the audience is 100% convinced.
Absolutely.
By your excellent presentations. So thank you so much, Jeff, for staying over a time limit despite your late hours in New York. And also, I want to thank Professor Charwon Kim for his excellent comments and questions. And I wish all of us will go with one main takeaway. Professor Jeffrey Sachs' emphasis on 5 components we have to all bear in mind with a vision looking beyond now until 2050 for the world and also for the better future we want to inherit to our children and grandchildren. Green, digital, smart urban, regionally cooperative, and multilateralism oriented. With that, I want to thank again Jeffrey Sachs and Professor Kim, and thank you so much for listening to us, not only in Korea, but also around the world. And thank you so much, with good evening, good morning, and also good night to Jeff. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeffrey.